This settled before I want to really talk to you about what I think about this fight that's coming up. So we're gonna do upper right. We're gonna do a large. We're not gonna do any effects or anything like that. So I want to find my face. See if we can get this going. All right. So my thoughts on this fight, right? All right, so we've got KSI versus Logan Paul. We've got Deji versus Jake Paul. All right, so my thoughts on this, I'm really torn in between kind of who I want to win this fight, right? I've settled with the Paul brothers. And the reason I've settled with the Paul brothers is because I'm from Akron, Ohio. I'm 30 minutes south of Cleveland. They're from Cleveland. They're doing their thing. They made it really big out of Westlake High School. Good for them. I got to support the Cleveland boys. Hashtag the land forever. Right, so I've kind of watched a lot of videos on this, and I've watched the hype videos. I watched the KSI Joe Weller fight. I love YouTube. I know I have very few followers. I get it. We do this just for fun. I don't expect this to blow up or get huge. That's not my intentions. Just a few followers that I have, the 60 subscribers or whatever. I want you guys to kind of know my thoughts on the fight. So, KSI dominated Joe Weller. If you haven't watched the fight, watch the fight. And watch the press conference interview beforehand. I thought that KSI handled himself very well. I thought Joe Weller was a little excited. He got a little in over his head. And then he kind of forgot everything that he needed to do in the fight. He wasn't throwing any punches. He was just protecting his head, but he was staying at a distance to where KSI was just using that long reach jab that us 6'2" guys can use and just keep him at a distance and then pop, 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 pop. So Joe Weller didn't really do, I don't think, what he was training to do in that fight to really be successful. Logan Paul is a different story. Logan Paul is a big kid. He's obviously very muscular. You know, he packs a lot of punch. He's a state champion wrestler from Westlake High School. Him and Jake Paul both were wrestlers, in Northeast Ohio. So, this isn't their first time on a bigger stage. When you're in a state championship match, you've got a lot of people not only behind you, but a lot of people against you as well, and he's used to that type of setting, which I think is going to help him in the fight. However, I think KSI is actually a pretty decent boxer. It doesn't look like he packs a huge punch because Joe Weller took about 6,000 shots to his head, his body, wherever, and it didn't really seem to affect him to the point where he got knocked out on the canvas. He definitely got a TKO. He had 2 standing counts, and then he got knocked out, but I don't know if that's going to be something where KSI can really rely on his punching power for a one shot to Logan Paul's face, because I think Logan Paul looks like he's a tough kid. So the reason why I'm a little back and forth on who I wanted to win the fight originally, and originally I wanted KSI and Deji to win. I wanted them to win the fight. I didn't like a lot of the content that Jake Paul and Logan Paul stand for. I didn't like the content they create. I thought that a lot of what they do is taking our youth. As a 31-year-old male, I've worked in downtown Cleveland. I'm a business professional. The way I was looking at their content was they're just kind of distorting the youth and the view of what we're really trying to accomplish to get these kids to grow up and have actual aspirations instead of just acting like assholes in public or whatever it may be. But at the end of the day, they do it for their fans, and I know that's not the greatest way to look at it, but when you look at things, when you're doing things for your fans to create yourself wealth and fame or whatever, it's not their fault that they have all these followers. But at the same time, I wish they had the followers that didn't require that type of behavior. But they showed a lot of humility, and I thought they showed a really solid understanding of not only who they are as people, but they were very courteous, I thought, as opposed to KSI and Deji in their interviews that they had on the face-to-face interviews. I thought Logan Paul and Jake Paul handled themselves much, much better. They were much more calm. They answered the questions that were given to them, whereas Deji and KSI just kind of kept hitting at them, the whole time. They just kept calling them pussies and bitches and blah, blah, blah. Logan Paul's a really level-headed kid, it seems like, in these interviews. Jake Paul was really level-headed, surprisingly enough, after his Walmart fiasco of screaming that the entire time. I don't know what the fuck you were doing, Jake. I know you're never going to watch this, but come on, man. Not everybody can afford nice clothes. Half of your followers, I would say 90% of your followers can't afford Gucci, Louis Vuitton, all that shit, right? So kind of understand who your audience is. But at the same time, I'm a Cleveland kid, right? Born and raised in Cleveland. These kids busted their ass at Westlake High School. They did what they had to do to make it famous. So good for them in that sense. I mean, good for them in the sense that they made it big. Not good for them in the sense that, you know, maybe they took a different route than I would have ever taken. You know, I don't think I would have taken that route of subjecting my fans to that and then getting them. A lot of these fans are going to probably try to recreate a lot of this. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. But, you know, I kind of understand their mindset. I also can't stand their dad. I think Logan Paul and Jake Paul's dad he's just not a good guy. That's what it comes off to me. I don't know the guy. I don't know any of these kids. You know, I grew up not far from them, but by the time they made it big, they were long gone before I would have ever even came across them. You know, so these were all the reasons that I was kind of against them. And then I kind of watched all these interviews and these, you know, I watched KSI fight. I've watched a lot of clips of Logan and Jake and shit like that. Deji just seems like a guy that's lost. He seems like a guy that's a lot of energy. He's like a running around chipmunk rabbit that's just got a ton of this energy. But I think that's going to only last him the first round if he even gets through it. And I think he's going to come out really, really aggressive. And I think Jake's just going to wait for a counterpunch, which is what I would do. Because there's no way those punches are going to hurt me. I've got a full, first of all, in amateur boxing, you have a full headgear. So it's not going to hurt, right? So, I mean, it's going to sting if you take them, you know, punch in, punch in, punch in, punch out, punch in, uppercut, body shot. If you just sit there and take it, eventually he's going to take a toll on your body. But Jake Paul's a big kid. I think he's training with the right people, it seems like, and I think he's going to be in and out quick. He's not going to let a lot of those shots actually affect him. And I expect a fight between him and Deji to go no longer than 2 rounds. I think Jake's power is just going to take over. KSI and Logan's a little bit different because they're both pretty decent-sized guys. Logan's an athlete. KSI isn't. I feel like if I threw a slant pattern to KSI, first of all, he wouldn't know what the fuck a slant pattern was. And second of all, he probably wouldn't catch it. And even if he did, I don't think he'd hold on to it after a middle linebacker came across and just smoked him in the chest. He's not an athlete. He's training to become a professional boxer, whatever this shit is. Whatever. Logan doesn't have any boxing experience, neither does Jake, neither does Deji. KSI is the only one with actually true boxing experience, so we'll see how that plays out. I'm really excited for both fights. Fights happen on August 25th. I don't know the time in America that's going to happen. The first one happens in America. The second one happens in February 2019 in the United States. So I'm hoping that that's like around the Cleveland area. Maybe we can get some people to show up, support the Cleveland boys. But actually, after all of this fight happens, I hope this humbles the Paul boys, even if they win. Actually, if they do win, I hope it humbles them. And the reason I say that is because of the content they create and their audience and everything like that. I hope they kind of tone it down a little bit with, I know Logan's made a lot of mistakes. They made a mistake with Japan and then tasing a rat and all that shit. And Jake's just kind of acted like a jackass his entire life. But he's doing it for his fans, so I get it. But at the end of the day, dude, you have a responsibility to be a role model for these kids, and that's just not the way to do it. You're doing it for your fans and the wealth, so it's the power of money comes into play. So we'll see what happens. August 25th, I'm definitely going to be paying for the $6. That's nothing. It's nothing to anybody that has ever worked a day in their life. Christ's minimum wage is $6. So, you know, definitely hop on. Support whoever you want to support. I don't give a shit whether you're from England, America, it doesn't matter. But the reason I'm supporting the Paul brothers, I'm from Cleveland. I understand why they do what they do. I don't agree with it, but I understand it. A lot of people don't understand why Jackass did what they did. They're a bunch of idiots. But at the end of the day, they were doing it for their fans. I'm not saying everybody that's watched a Johnny Knoxville video has gotten their testicles snapped by a snapping turtle or a scorpion. That's just not the way people work. But younger audiences have a different view, and so I hope I hope they tone down their content a little bit when it comes down to it in the end. But let me know your thoughts. The 12 of you that are going to see this video, let me know in the comments. I can make a reaction video after that as well. Kind of what everybody's saying, give some more thoughts on it. I'm kind of shooting this from the hip. You know, I want to just kind of tell you after what I've seen, what I've watched, you know, kind of how I feel, stuff like that. But anyways, hashtag the land forever. You know, we support our land boys. Hopefully they go out and knock some teeth together. I think Digi's really overconfident for a tiny guy. Jake Paul's way bigger, way taller, way stronger, got way better reach, and if he keeps him at a distance, lets Deji use all of his energy, which he's going to do in the first round or two, I don't think that's even going to be a fight. I think Jake Paul kicks the shit out of him. And then Logan, on the other hand, that's going to be a battle. I don't know anything about Logan boxing, so I'm not going to say I know anything about him. If it was a wrestling match, it'd be over before it started, but it's not. I'd like to see it go MMA. I think that'd be a better fight, because KSI's got boxing experience, Logan Paul's got wrestling experience. I'd love to see an MMA match with them, but that's not what we're in. August 25th, again, tune in. Rematch February 19th. It's going to happen. We'll see you then. Thanks for watching.